I sometimes think that we have more compassion on the destitute and the wretched. You know, say like, well, yes, if there was a prostitute, I would talk to her about the great love of God for her, his great patience. And then it's like we think we're better than them because we don't seem to think Christ would treat us with that same kind of gentleness, you know? So we see, of course, Christ is patient with the prostitutes. He just hates me, that's all. It's like, you're not that special, you know? Like, he actually loves you and is patient with you in the way that he's patient with those that we would consider more wretched.
Yeah, and we're not even compassionate on ourselves. It's like St. Francis de Sales said, have patience with the whole world, but first of all with yourself.
Yeah, and this is because of our pride, right?
Yeah.
This is why we can't have patience with ourselves. Yeah.
How could I have fallen? Me.
Yeah, which just perpetuates the cycle. Like if I fall and then I get very emotional and troubled, and it's like, this is a great way to get stuck in that cycle, you know? Christ wants us to be patient with those around us. He wants us to be patient with ourselves as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he blesses us with our weakness, even though we want to be like, been to confession 47 times in a row for this stupid thing, and not realize, okay, that thorn, in a sense, is a gift to keep you dependent upon him. Because maybe if you didn't have that moral flaw, you would become far more self-reliant and subject yourself to a far greater fall.
Yeah, that reminds me, St. Margaret Mary Alacoque, who received the visions of the Sacred Heart, her spiritual director, what was his name? Saint, I forget, but he had...
Colombier, that guy?
Yeah, Jean-Claude de la Colomière, I think, yes, that's him. He has this lovely line in prayer. He's talking to God, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, I glorify you in making known how good you are towards sinners, and that your mercy prevails over all malice, and that no matter how many times we fall, how shamefully or how criminally, a sinner need never be driven to despair of your pardon. So it is in vain that your enemy and mine, namely the devil, should set new traps for me daily. He will make me lose everything else before the hope that I have in your mercy. So maybe as we wrap this up, Jason, talk to us a bit about the mercy of God and why we shouldn't become despondent.
Yeah, no, you can't. I remember one saint saying, you know, if the devil tries to remind you of your past, just remind him of his future. And so turn that one around of that. Yeah, I mean, no one is without a past. All of us have our scar tissue. I mean, I first started seeing pornography when I was probably like second grade in the neighborhood. And then before you know it, your cousin had it, your next neighbor had it, your high school buddies had it. And it's years and years and years of this junk. And yeah, I mean, finally able to get rid of the stuff when I was like 18 years old. But I mean, the scar tissue remains. But God is glorified through the wounds, even self-inflicted ones that we receive, that the risen Christ still has his glorified wounds, and that God can still work through our wounds, and that these injuries that, you know, we've allowed ourselves to sustain, sometimes by our own poor decisions, sometimes because of what people have done to us, that this can be a point of encounter with God. And we might want to think, I just got to get rid of this. I got to be perfect. Then God is really going to love me. Then he's going to accept me. Once I'm all squeaky clean, it's like, those are some serious issues you got to work through. Maybe some daddy wounds there of thinking like you got to be perfect before you approach the Father. Then you're going to have his affection, as opposed to a dad. You know, I've got kids throwing up on me on a regular basis, and it's just like, I don't love you less because you vomited down my back. It's like, no, I'm with you, I'm holding you, we're going to get through this together. So we need to really try our best to purge ourselves of this idea of Jesus like standing at the finish line being like, keep going, I'm here when you get here, instead of him actually being in the trenches with us. You know, and that's why he showed us he fell again on the way to the cross. He fell. I mean, yeah, those aren't sins, but like the omnipotent fell. And so he's with you in your falls. Pray those psalms in the Old Testament, those psalms of abandonment, of desolation. Encounter him in your weakness instead of thinking you need to approach him in a posture of strength.